Kibaki is the worst president in Kenyan history. There are two reasons. The first one, he did what even Moi could not do. When Moi lost, he left. When Kibaki lost, he couldn't leave. Setting the clock backwards. You see what's happening in Nepal? I warn Kenyans.
It's crazy there.
I've been warning Kenyans. Be careful with what you are inviting. Listen to these young people. They have what it takes to destroy the country, and they don't care. Youth is equal to recklessness sometimes. There are two things that can make the opposition stay and stick together and work together. One is trust. You cannot put down trust. You have to build trust among yourselves. Not write document, oh, this Mimi Kalonzo, I undertake, oh, Mimi Gachagua. That's nonsense.
It's coalition time. The opposition is actually looking for its flag bearer. What should they be focusing on? I'm here with Prof. Manyora to take a look at MOUs in Kenya, why they don't stick, why they don't work. Prof, great to see you. How are you doing today?
Fine, and you?
I'm doing well.
Yes, yes.
Let's start from Kibaki's MOU post-Rainbow.
Yes.
You look at the agreements that were there. We're going to have, I don't know, 2 vice presidents, prime minister, a couple of deputy prime ministers.
And so on and so on and so forth.
Kibaki gets into power and everyone is frustrated.
Yes.
What lacked then? What still lacks up to now?
I think it is just confusion. And I say confusion because I can't see any other reason. It is greed. It is extreme tribalism. It is lack of statesmanship. It is selfishness. It is short-sightedness. It is just a bag of confusion.
You think?
Because you can't see anything that can make that. I mean, how up to date we have not seen why we need to be one nation, one people.
Could this be Kibaki's undoing from then?
Kibaki is the worst president in Kenyan history. There are two reasons. The first one, he did what even Moi could not do. When Moi lost, he left. When Kibaki lost, he couldn't leave. Setting the clock backwards. Nobody believed Moi could leave. That's why the swearing in for Kibaki was hurriedly done. By people like Mukisa Kitui thinking there's no way Moi can leave power.
Yeah.
But Moi left. Kibaki couldn't leave in 2007. Setting us back. And the second thing is an opportunity to deal firmly, decisively, once and for all, with this issue that has dragged us since independence, the animal of tribalism.
I was listening to Kalonzo.
If Kibaki had stuck to the MOU, this thing you call tribalism will have died then. For that reason, I will never forgive Kibaki. And therefore, it's the worst thing that ever happened to this country.
For Kalonzo Musyoka says
For
Kibaki,
being given an opportunity and squandering
he
it.
had health issues, and therefore Kalonzo says it was the people around him. As much as Kalonzo felt betrayed, he says these people around him are the ones that messed him up. As we're building this conversation on coalitions, could you buy that? That even as they are forming their own now,
Yes.
they should be careful with the people that surround the principles. Is this something that we can justify Kibaki with?
Of course, you cannot fault Kibaki if you look at it that way, that is the people around him, the Kikuyu mafia and whatever else that have been described. That may be true. But if you look at Kibaki the man, I'm looking at Kibaki the man, but I'm also not naive. I know it was beyond Kibaki the man. It was the system. The system was designed in such a manner that Kibaki was just a pawn in the entire system. He was not the man in charge of anything. So even if Kibaki had wanted to walk away after losing 2007, he could not have been allowed. Yeah.
Not be allowed at all.
So when I look at Kibaki, the man, I'm saying he could have taken a risk. The guy, for heaven's sake, was beyond 70 years, much older than Manyora now. He had nothing to lose. At our age, we have nothing to lose. You can't scare people like Manyora here. We see tumeishi maisha Mungu alisema mtu aishi. Angesema to hell, I'm the president of this country. And I want to live a united country. So that he could have played outside the script. That's why I blame Kibaki. Instead, he didn't have the courage to get out of the script. He played within the script. So there's the Kibaki playing within the script, and there's the Kibaki, the man who could have played outside the script. So that's the man I'm blaming. He had what it takes to play out of the script. At his age, what could happen to him? What could you possibly do to Kibaki at his age? If you locked him in cell for 2 days, he would just die. People like us, what can you do to us? If you arrest Manyora and put him in, I will just die in 2 or 3 days, which is also good. So me, you can't scare me. You can't threaten, because there's nothing you can do to me. If you kill me, you are gaining nothing, because I'm already dead. It is written in the Bible, at a certain age. For this reason, you shall live for 70 shall be your days in this world. Kwa kukosa kutii Mungu, kwa kukosa kutii na kumsikiza mwanamke na kukula tunda ambalo ulikataza usile, miaka yako itakuwa ni 70. Na yule ambaye amezaliwa na mwanamke siku zake ni chache. You know, I lost my friend recently, so I'm a little religious now.
No. You know, you might be going, but let me ask you this: when we were forming coalitions, what?
So Kibaki was at an age where he could have told off those people and played outside the script and said, let me be known for saving this country, for killing tribalism. Raila Odinga kuja kaa na mimi karibu hapa. Yeah, become prime minister. And when I finish my presidency, you take over the president. Hii mambo ya ukabila Kenya ingeisha.
What nuts are not screwed in opposition, especially because even after they lose, coalitions break.
Yes.
Why don't you think we can't do the Republican Democrat way in the country, where we have these parties that stick and have a common vision? Instead, what we see is they come and say, in fact, our manifestos were the same, so we can go either side.
We can do the same. You see, when you look at the parties in America and in UK, for example, those are the two countries we are fairly familiar with. You see, their politics is not just in isolation. It's born out of some history. Okay? In fact, if you are looking at the history of political parties in the world, the place you most likely land is the beginning of the political parties in the UK. It's a very interesting history there. And that has been quite a while, many centuries now. America is about 200 plus years. So one, the years they have lived as democracies have helped them perfect what we are now admiring. Secondly, the historical realities that made them come up with the political parties they came up with also inform what we are seeing today. Our political reality was distorted, and the journey was aborted. We started with a more or less clear distinction between the nationalist parties and the almost status quo tribal party. So KANU was a nationalist party. KANU, on the other hand, was a reactionary party. Reacting to the fact that KANU was dominated by the Luo and the Kikuyu, by then the two largest communities before the demographic changes. So Moi and Ngara and the rest and Shikuku were building on the fear that this will dominate others. But in reality, that was not the problem, the truth. The truth was the colonial masters, the settlers and the colonial administration were more comfortable with non-nationalist grouping called KADU. So we started off very well. So we were going to have a party that is nationalist, which is KANU, and a party that is a grouping of tribal leaders being supported by the white outgoing colonial administration. So we are going to have radical versus conservative. You see, the UK, the conservatives and the Labour. The Democrat in the US versus
Republicans.
Republican. They are always between those who are conservative and those who are a little radical. So the Republicans in America, the grand old party, GOP, is conservative. Mambo yende taratibu, tulie, less government, with their history of, their racist history and what have you. And the radical liberal Democrats. In the UK, we have the Conservative Party and the Labour Party, which is liberal, pro-change, pro-what. That's how we started. Then it was distorted. So now we will have to find our bearing another time. We are not yet there now. There's a problem.
What is the need of parties now? Because we were fighting for multipartyism, but then we're getting to a place where we're saying, but these parties are just too much. Should we blame the structure of government, or where did we go wrong that even if you now even form this party, you're taking it again to a coalition? What happened there that we have too many parties and we're going back to yet another NASA versus Jubilee or sort?
You see, people have said this coalition arrangement which we have built into our law is a recipe for the destruction of democracy, because it destroys political party arrangement. Okay? And it has worked like that from 2007. So which means, much as we celebrate their coalition agreements anchored in law, we must also accept that it is not very good for democracy, because it kills political parties. Now ODM is with what you call UDA. So is it something you can celebrate if you're a Democrat? The answer is certainly no. Yeah, that's one of the challenges we have.
So how can we fix this? Because even now, even after we have joined coalitions, we also have other parties within the coalitions consuming parties.
Yes.
What we've seen with Kenya Kwanza, UDA poaching ANC,
Yes.
Malala when he was there saying Ford should fold too. How can we solve this so that we have a structure that can...
You cannot solve this to come up with good parties until a time comes when political parties are defined by ideas, by ideology, by serious issues that define them. But the time is coming. For example, with the coming of the Gen Z revolution, you can see assemblies of what I'm saying. Kenyans are going to be forced to choose between people who really want change and the people who are comfortable in the old, in the traditional, in the known, in the security that the known provides. The so-called political players as we know them. If you tell them anything radical, they'll run away. So this Gen Z revolution could lead to a situation where we have people who are willing to disturb the status quo. A person who says, for example, my name is Manyora, I am running for office of president. What do I want to do that others are not able to do? I want to create jobs. How do I create jobs? I'm going to say in my first executive order, there are no Mitumbas in this country. And all imports must subscribe to non-tariff requirements, those which are known. Proper trade practices, no dumping in this country. All the rubbish you see in Ludhuri that are electronics, all the plastics you buy in this Kenya, shoes, suits, from where you wear, all of them, none will come to this country. Wacha tutembe uchi. Then we will begin taking our cotton industry seriously. We will begin manufacturing our own cloth, and we will create 3 million jobs. or 2 million jobs or 1 million jobs in the textile industry. Hakuna kiatu itakanyaga Kenya hata moja. Then we walk barefoot, then we revive butter and others. So you see, that's a very radical departure. Kalonzo can't do that.
And therefore, in this conversation of coalition building and parties,
Yeah.
you will have your own people.
So that people who think like that will be people you can't sway, and they can't fit in the old order. They can't belong to UDA, they can't belong to ODM. They can only belong to this new thinking that is radical, that introduces serious radical changes, that say we have paid too much lip service on loans. This country is giving itself 5 years to pay off every loan they have, and they will not borrow a shilling. Wacha tulale njaa. Let's walk naked. Let's have half the children in school. Wacha wengine wakae nyumbani. Hatuna pesa ya shule, lakini tutalipa deni yote in 5 years. So you see, that time is coming. You are going to have people who think like that.
But this one is dependent on the Gen Z thinking.
That kind of Gen.
But then we have to accept where we are.
Where we are,
we
is
need
there
Mount
we don't
Kenya.
have political parties.
We need Mount Kenya. We need other Wiper.
That they are not political parties. They are not political parties.
So how
another issue before I forget, another issue that could make Kenyans have a political party that's completely different. The new liberal, civic and liberal rights. No, what do you call them? Things.
Constitutionalism.
Things that are coming. Gay rights, what have
liberal.
you, LGBT plus, those things. They are going to unite certain people in this country. The new thinking. What the Democrats in America are pushing for.
Being left.
You can't keep this thing away for long. They are going to define a group of Kenyans who are going to demand some of these liberties, and they are going to form political parties more or less in the manner of Democratic Party. So, in the coming days, we are going to have political parties that bring people together who believe in things others can't believe in.
Based on idea.
Based on ideas. Yeah, based on ideology. Based on the view of the world. That where we are as a world today, we cannot allow foreigners to perpetuate poverty in Africa forever. There are people who are going to say enough is enough. We cannot allow foreigners to own property in this country in the name of conservancies. We cannot allow the best things in this country to belong to foreigners. We cannot allow foreigners to have the best that we have in this country, to roam free in this country, to have a field day in this country. So there are going to be people who look at Kenya in that manner and say, no, we shall not allow. So those kind of people are therefore going to find themselves in political parties that accommodate their thinking.
The way we are seeing Maraga and Omtata Constitution.
And
then we see Willis, Wanjigi, economy.
So those people are going to find themselves getting together because their thinking is radical. And then they will leave the old type thinking on one side. So we are likely to have 2-3 parties. In not so long a future from now. In like, you can say it in like 15, 20, 30 years.
We can't talk about
clearly defined political parties.
We can't talk about 2027.
No, 2027 we are still the same people unless the Gen Zs. That demography is very dangerous. If they come up, this thing I'm saying will come sooner than I'm seeing it in 30 years. Because the Gen Zs can today, you have seen Nepal.
Yeah.
You see what's happening in Nepal? I warn Kenyans.
It's crazy there.
I've been warning Kenyans. Be careful with what you are inviting. Listen to these young people. They have what it takes to destroy the country, and they don't care. Youth is equal to recklessness sometimes. And many societies have been destroyed or changed or built through the energy of youth. Youth is a flowing, furious river. You can't ukeka mguu unaenda. So the Gen Zs can today decide we have had enough. We have had enough of this nonsense. We can't remain jobless forever. We can't be living dead. We are walking, but we are dead. We have no future. We have no hope. Nothing. We can't. Enough is enough. And they get people like Kina Babu Owino and Kina Sifuna and all these young men and tell them, no, You have a little more experience than those of us who are still 20, 21, 22. Form a political party, form a movement. We have 15 million votes for you. If anybody who qualifies to vote by next year registers to vote, those are like 15 million votes. Or people below 35 years old. Who can beat them?
No one can beat them.
Can anybody beat them?
That is one.
Remember also,
Yes.
there are also old people like Manyora who have the brain and the thinking of those people in terms of radicalism. So they are not alone. They will be joined by people like us who will believe in what they are saying. So they will have so many votes. Not Ruto, not Kalonzo, not Gachagua can compete with them.
That is one of the realities that we expect. The other reality is now the formation of coalitions.
Yes.
And now Kalonzo, Musyoka, Rigathi, Martha Karua, all, I think Kalonzo and Martha Karua have rebranded. DCP has come up. Rigathi said one of the blunders he made is that he trusted Ruto.
Correct.
He didn't sign anything. He just said, I trusted this man because we prayed together. Let me ask you this, as they are forming their MOU,
Yes.
their coalition, their pact, what nuts need to be screwed so that Gachagua doesn't get screwed later?
No, it is not. It's not. You see, a contract is not a covenant. There are two things that are more important than paper. What you put on pen and paper, in terms of an agreement, a contract, and maybe a covenant. And a covenant is between God and His people.
Yes.
But man is a contract.
Yes.
That's why some people say, let marriage be a covenant, not a contract. A contract, you can tear the paper and tell someone to go to court. Yeah. I mean, if you sign a contract with you, I can ignore it. Kibaki ignored the MOU. It was signed. So it's not a question of... So I think there was nothing to compel Ruto to obey any. In any case, what he promised Mudavadi and Wetangula, has he even delivered 1/8 or even 10%? No. So that thinking is what will make the coalition get nowhere. The thinking that you need to reduce an agreement into some writing called MOU or agreement, nonsense. There are two things that can make the opposition stay and stick together and work together. One is trust. You cannot put down trust. You have to build trust among yourselves. Not write document, oh, this Mimi Kalonzo, I undertake, oh, Mimi Gachagua. That's nonsense.
If I give this, I will receive this.
No, it is trust. They must work on trust. Trust building. And the second thing is put together minds, the best minds they can get, to work out structures that can sustain togetherness, on which you can rest trust. Trust must stand on something. That platform on which trust must stand has to be built, not by people who take tea, not by tribesmen, not by friends and cronies, but by the best thinkers they can afford to get. And that's why I said putting Mukisa at the center of their game is a necessary first step. They must now advance and get thinkers to figure out what happened in 2002 to the MOU between Raila and Kibaki and Raila. Some brains, if brains had worked, the summit would have been retained after elections through thinking. The summit would have been structured in such a way Kibaki would not have had the power to dismantle the summit, to upstage the summit. And because the country was in the mood immediately after elections, if they had been thinking, the summit would have been put into law immediately after the elections. Immediately. Elections in December, Parliament meets in January, February, by March. Changing the constitution of Kenya then was much easier than it is today. The summit would have been entrenched into law. And this country will be a different country today.
So,
So even now,
the thinking.
the thinking.
Because people
I'm speaking to Mukisa Kitui. Yes. Please, anybody seeing this video, give it to Mukisa Kitui. I'm speaking to Mukisa Kitui. He can understand me. It is the thinking, stupid. How do we craft this thing in such a way? Even if Gachagua tries to be clever, he will not manage. Even if Kalonzo becomes president and he thinks he can be the Kibaki of 202, he can't make it. How do we craft this thing so that if Matiang'i is not given the flag, the kisses don't bolt? How do we craft this thing to maintain the Luyas in their coalition, even when none of them is either president, they are neither president nor running mate? That is the thinking. I'm speaking to Mukisa Kitui. Because I have a weakness for brains. When somebody is intelligent, I love them. He knows what I'm talking about. He knows why coalitions, to answer your question, that's where you started, why coalitions are not lasting. They can't work. There is no thinking that goes into the building those coalitions. Zero thinking. What coalitions do and put on paper can be done by a primary school kid. Yeah. So the moment you are doing things that can be done by primary school children, yes, then you are just useless people.
What a place to wrap up this conversation. It's all about thinking for the loyal opposition. They have to come up with a candidate who will not betray them later. Put the best brains in the secretariat. And now we have Mukisa Kitui there. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye for now. Have yourself a lovely rest of your day.